What's up, everybody? This is Dante. This is another episode of Off the Mass Podcast. On this episode, my guest would be Zach. He operates Student BJJ on Instagram and the website as well, studentbjj.com. Also, we discuss on this episode his upcoming project, Champions Keep Score. It's an upcoming app that we're all really excited about. But I want to do the intro here because we just jump into the podcast, start talking. At no point do I do an introduction. So I do apologize for that. And I just want to let you all know who our guest was for this episode. Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
And also, I haven't really been doing intros. I've been trying to do intros. Like, I do intros like 10 minutes into the show. Like, oh, yeah, by the way, like, I have a guest in case you guys didn't notice. But you're back to training. What's going on? Like, how is that?
Man, it was rough. I've been about a month now, pretty close to it, back on the mats. Day one, man, I like cardio tapped to a white belt. Like, it was so bad. Not a shot at the white belt because they're an absolute specimen, but I had like zero ability. The first, walking into the room was amazing. Just the smell of the gym, the mats and everything. Everyone's getting in there, warm up, and like we started warming up, and I'd always skipped warm ups before the pandemic. And I was like, you know what? I need to take care of myself. I'm going to start, warming up before the workout. Started warming up, and it was like one lap into the jogs or whatever. And I was like, this is going to be really, really bad. And by the end of the class, we started doing the rolls. That first grip, I was like, okay, I remember this. I'm going to get a grip. And like I grabbed his lapel and then just blanked, like could not remember what my strategies were. And it was this moment where I like, man, I have really lost so much, and it sucked. But I was like, okay, my goal here is just survive. I don't really care if this guy taps me out. Like, I don't care. Like, this is what I love to do. And this is my first step after physical therapy. It was like that moment. And man, he he didn't tap me. I did cardio tap. I hate to say it, but I survived, and I think I rolled maybe twice that night. And since then, like a month later, I'm only just now, like today was the day that I felt, okay, I'm not where I was, but I'm at least, I've earned the rank that I am. I felt good. I felt the movement coming back. I felt the energy. I had the option to roll, fourth or fifth time if I wanted to. I had enough gas for it, and it's been a hard month to get back here, but it's here I am.
That's good. It's just good to hear, though, that like you said, your rank, like like you earned it, you deserve it. So coming back, and the things are coming back to you quicker than it would be coming back for a white belt or even a blue belt like myself. When I got back out there, I've been for the past month now kind of on more of a consistent 4 days a week now, I think. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
So 4.5 because Sunday is kind of I have friends that I don't even want to say I coach them, but I don't know what it is. I got two friends that come in on Sundays, and I show them basics. And now I'm just showing them what we've been going over during the week to help me reinforce what we've learned. But prior to that, I was going in maybe twice a week at best. If I was lucky, I was getting in twice a week, and my timing was just nowhere near where it needed to be. Like yeah, same thing. I would grab the lapels and it just freeze. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. Especially standing, it's just, I'll grab the lapels and I'm thinking, what do I do? just pull guard, just get to the ground, and maybe you'll figure it out from there. I'll pull guard, get to the ground, and not only that though, I'll pull guard, and it wasn't even like a good guard pull. It like you just hear a thud. It's
Yeah,
like,
just
oh
get
my!
down.
It's like I think did he just die? I think he was trying to pull guard, but he really hit the ground hard. He might knock the wind out of himself, which did happen once. But same thing. It was just trying to get the sense of what am I doing? Like, where do I go from here? I got this grip. Okay. Um, and honestly, right in the beginning of coming back, I went through a small window of as much as I love jujitsu, I was like, I don't know if this is me anymore. Like,
Yeah,
I love it, being on BJJ Wiki on Instagram all the time. I still love it, but doing it was weird. Like, this doesn't feel right. But once once I started getting in 3 days, 4 days, like I I was in love again. I
yeah,
was
I hear you.
taking notes, just getting home, watching jujitsu, just thinking about jujitsu. Everything I did at work was jujitsu. And now I feel like, okay, I'm back. I
And
can't.
you're at the same gym as you were before?
So yes, but we actually have a new owner.
Okay.
Um, so last January of 2020, we moved to a new location. Things were looking good. Attendance was coming up. End of February, we had massive like classes, just tons of people. It was almost like we moved to a bigger. It's a bigger space, but it's not a bigger space. It's weird.
Layout can make a big
Um,
difference.
yeah, the layout is definitely where we were previously. We had kind of like an office building, like kind of layout. Um, you walk in the doors and then it's basically boom, the mats are right there.
Yeah.
And just kind of go. And that space was fine. But then the trick to it though, we had a downstairs level as well though. So our Muay
Okay.
Thai took place downstairs, jiu-jitsu
Oh,
was
that's nice.
upstairs.
Yeah.
And yeah, I loved it because we can get so much more accomplished between the two classes. Now where we're at, it's just one level, all one space. It's more mat space, but we don't have the two separate. So
Right. So there's interference.
yeah. So but we got to the new location last January and it was feeling good. For me, anyone changes tough, but for me, I take it like it's the end of the world. It was like, we're changing. No,
Yeah.
like this
This is what I
can't.
love. Yeah.
I started here. I don't want to go there. Um, then COVID happened and things got weird.
Yeah.
This past December, we get a mass text from our mastery coach. Our coach who runs the mastery program actually runs all of the jiu-jitsu program. He sends out a text basically stating that he's going to be the new owner. Our previous owner, he's just got a lot going on.
Yeah.
And sold it, and it was just kind of the right opportunity, the right time, and everything. Nothing's changed, but there is kind of the culture feels a little different.
Sure.
And again, for me, knowing that when I came into it, trying to get back into the groove of things, part of me not wanting to continue was like I didn't feel like this was my gym anymore. I was like, maybe I should look for a new gym. And I was like, why would I do that? Even though it's new ownership, I know the coach.
Yeah, you've been under him before, and
yeah, it's just something weird about it. And then I was like, why leave and go meet new people and have to like do this all over when the same people are here? It's just like it's something in my own head.
Yeah.
But now it's business as usual. So we were initially called Ivy League MMA. We have an affiliate school called Crazy 88, and they have two locations besides the one now that we're at. And we all kind of work together.
Yeah.
but there was a weird relationship there. Now that we
Why does
have
that name Crazy 88 sound familiar? Who?
Crazy 88. I
It,
post about them quite a
maybe
bit.
that's what it is.
Like Vanessa Griffin, I post her every Monday.
Okay.
I'm trying to think who else.
There's
Ma-
somebody out there in Instagram world that posts out of there that I follow and see their stuff, or it may just be something you've done. But yeah, it sounds real familiar.
I've
Go
been
ahead.
seeing some other 88 posts popping up too. I mean, Tim Spriggs, trains out of there.
Tim Spriggs. That's yeah. I know what you're talking
So,
about.
so, but now that the new owner kind of put us all together,
Okay.
it's easier to cross train between the gyms. So that was another comfort because we used to have a Wednesday morning class at our location that no longer exists, but there's a Wednesday morning class at our Elkridge location, which is I'm 15 minutes from both gyms. I'm like dead in the middle of both gyms.
That's
So
nice.
yeah, and I didn't realize it until they're like, "Hey, head over to Elkridge on a Wednesday morning, get in there." So I did, and I felt awkward because it's a different crew. I was just like, "What? Like, okay, this is weird." But now I go there. I haven't missed a Wednesday yet, and actually, I sat with Coach, and basically was like, part of my goals was, get my attendance back up, being consistent, and he was like, basically, if I don't see you in class, I'm gonna text you. Like, where were you? So my job is to make sure I don't get a text message from him telling me
Yeah.
to show up. So I've been there every Wednesday because he runs that class, and
Yeah.
now it feels like like I belong there. So
Yeah. That's nice.
um, and I saw your son started.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. That um, the one picture I actually added that with your post I did today, just because I love that picture. It's just such a great shot. So that's awesome. How is that for you? Just now having your son able to get out there, and how's he enjoying it?
Yeah. It's amazing. So, little backstory first. So I'm actually at a new gym now too
Mhm.
after COVID. I was uh, where I worked was probably like a 30-minute drive before the pandemic hit, and there was a gym that was close by that had a lunch class, and so I would train during my lunches and pop over. And after the pandemic and everything, got crazy, got furloughed. That job got deleted. I'm never out that way anymore. So when I started to come back, I was looking at my options, and the gym that I train at now is GF Team, and it's under the same team as the first place that I really started training, which is at Westside in Little Rock under Rolly Delgado. So in a lot of ways, that was a moment to kind of come home, change up my training. When I came back, I really wanted to come back and reinvent myself because I'd been in a little bit of a rut right before the pandemic hit. So a lot going on. Came back. The school's been really amazing. There's purple belt that came in that couldn't even do anything, and everyone's just really cool with it. But I asked, I was like, hey, is it okay if my son comes and does a class? And like, yeah, absolutely. And so I told my wife, who's a photographer, I was like, I need you to get a picture of the first time that we're on the mat. Like I had the vision. I was like, I don't care if he trains jiu-jitsu. Like if it's not his calling, like whatever. If he wants to like be a ballerina or a chef, like I honestly don't care what he does. But I'm gonna have a moment where he does it with me, as a
Mhm.
kid. So I was like, and I just want that moment. And she drug her camera out and made sure to get that. That really was like the first time that we were dressed out and stepping on the mats at the same time. And man, I'm over the moon that I got that moment immortalized.
That's
And then
good.
he's 4.5. He goes out, and the youngest kid is probably about 5.5 that was out there. My son he's tall and skinny. He's like a little shrimp. He's like 35 pounds and has been for like 6 months or maybe a year. Like he's a little dude, and he got out there, and those kids were bigger than him. But you know what? He did the drills as best he could. There was a lot going on, but he kept just a really great attitude. And then for rolling, this like little girl comes up and just like snatches him and is like, "You're going to be my partner." And they rolled together like 3 or 4 times, which is really just them tugging on each other's geese for a while until one would fall down. And he had a blast. He hasn't been back for another class yet. He still talks about like he wants to, but I thought it may do him some good to pump the brakes a little bit and come back in maybe 3 or 4 months when he's a little bit bigger and when he can sit and pay attention to the drills. But it's like seeing him light up and getting on the mats with him was truly like a special moment. And like I don't care what he does jiu-jitsu from now on. If he wants to train, like I'm all in on it. But that was like probably the coolest dad moment that I've had so far.
That's good. That's good. It like again that the picture, it's wonderful, and just knowing, I don't know, I'm just super sappy, but like stuff like that tugs at my heart, and it's like that's a special moment. And my daughter, we were hoping to get her in the fall, and then COVID was still kind of a weird thing here.
Yeah.
And then this year, once 2021 hit, they reintroduced our Tiny Ninjas class, and I believe in March. And my wife and I talked about it. I was like, look, she wants to do it. When we were doing the Zoom classes, she was actually participating in those. I had mats down here in the basement, had the cameras going. She can Granby so much better than me. It's embarrassing.
It helps when they're all bendy.
Yeah. Like when I saw her doing it, I was like, okay, it's because you're flexible.
Yeah.
But the fact that she does it, like she does it though, and she lands properly. When I do it, who knows what direction? Like I'm looking one direction and who knows where. By the time I come around, I was like, wait, where am I? Like, okay,
yeah,
I wasn't facing that way before.
Man, that's one of those things. Like there are a few things in jiu-jitsu that, from the outside looking in, you think it's the easiest thing in the world, and then you get out there and try it, and you can't. And Granby is like something that people think, oh, that's easy. And you get out there and try it, and there is no telling where you end up.
Yeah, it's for our drill this morning. Actually, we did half Granbys, and when they call, on our Wednesday class, we very rarely, I don't think we've ever done a Granby since I've been going there. And he called for a half Granbys, and I was just like, I just got comfortable with bear crawls, dude. like
pump the brakes.
Because normally whenever he calls for bear crawls, you'll hear I'm the one that makes the very loud sigh, and then I'm like going at a snail's pace. He called for bear crawls today, and I was doing like a little trot. And I was like, okay, now I know I'm back. I'm doing this comfortably without complaints. Then he said half Granbys, and I was like, nope. I did it, but I wasn't happy at all.
Yeah,
that was very, very miserable. But like my daughter, I was helping with the Tinies program last year, so I had the curriculum. So I started doing some of the techniques here with her. And Tinies, we do just like Muay Thai stuff or kickboxing stuff, like so it's like she's excited about it. She wants to do it. My wife was like, okay, let's get her in for it. Then with all the house projects coming up, it's like, hold on, we can't afford this. I was like, well, yeah, we can. Like we can do it. Trust me. Like I'm going to make this happen. So our neighbor, he wants to get his daughter, and she's going to be 5 next month. So I think I'm going to go talk to him in a couple of days. Like, look, why don't we take both the girls in and do the 1 week trial for them both? Same week. We'll take them in same time. And work from there. And if your daughter is into it, perfect, because my daughter's going to be doing it regardless. But like just thinking about that, it's like, okay, I can't wait for my daughter to get out here on this mat officially. I don't know that, if I think by next year she should move up to the next grouping just
Yeah.
because of age. I don't know that I can be her coach for that, just because I'm tough on my family and friends. Like, you bring me a stranger and I'm gonna walk them through it. You bring me family or friends and I'm like, no, I know I know the BS you pull. Like, you're running these laps.
Yeah.
Like, oh, your hip hurts? Your hip wasn't hurting when you were playing earlier today.
Yeah.
Okay. like, like, give me some squats. So, but
Yeah. That's something I worked out with, my coach too. I told him like, hey, I would love to help with the kids class, and everything. Like but I don't want to be his coach.
yeah,
I don't want him to be looking to me to teach him jujitsu. Like I want someone else to teach him. That way I can separate it all. But
yep,
like I would love to be in the class. I would love to be helping other people. I'd love for him to see me rolling and doing it and feeling that comfort. I was like, I don't want to be the one telling him what to do because I'm going to treat him differently, even if I try not to. Like
yeah.
I can't not.
Yeah, that's my concern is like, and I was talking with one of the other coaches today, and she was like, yeah, I agree. Like, because you fall into one of two categories. Either you're too easy on them or you're too hard. And I was like, I'm definitely the one that's going to be too hard on her. And the thing is it'll break my heart because I know she'll get upset. She'll cry.
Yeah.
I don't want to force her away from jujitsu. So if she's going to enjoy jujitsu, I can't be her coach. Not
That's
not right
it.
now.
Yeah.
Um,
Could be
later in
at
life.
every tournament, every class, whatever. But from the coaching point of view, they really, in my opinion, they need to have somebody that you also think of as a coach.
Correct. So, but I'm really, again, happy to hear that that's something that's happening for you right now. And I agree, he said he's 4.5. So coming back in a few months, and also having already gone in and got that little bit of taste.
Yeah.
Now coming back in a few months, now it's something that's really like built into him. Like, I'm excited, I'm ready to come back. And that was the same thing with my daughter. She just turned 5 a couple weeks back. So when we were really heavy into doing everything, she was about 4.5. So now I think it's that time where, okay, I think we can get her back to this, and I know she's going to embrace it.
Yeah.
And our coach who's running the Tinies right now, I think he's a phenomenal instructor. He actually does our fundamental class on Tuesdays and Thursdays as well. And I go to those classes, and I love learning from this guy. So I can't wait for my daughter to learn from him as well. So it's going to be fun on our end, and hopefully, she'll, if she doesn't, fall in love with it like I'd have, then like, it's not a big deal. But I
Yeah.
want her to at least try it. She right now from the outside, she enjoys it. So,
And making it fun, making it a game. I mean, that's the key.
mm-hmm.
And making it too serious or making it like ultra competitive. Some kids thrive in that, but generally speaking, most get burnt out on that. I mean, hell, when I was a kid, my mom had me. I say my mom had me. I really loved it, but I, played t-ball. I was
Mm-hmm.
at the pitching machine. I was on like traveling all-star team, and it got to the point where I had a game or like a tournament where I had to travel for it every weekend. Practice 3-4 days a week. I got so burnt out. I quit and I never stepped foot on the baseball diamond again. And that was at like, 7-8 years old. And that was like, I have never liked baseball since. And I was all on it. And that's just, that was me. And I was decent at the time. But if you ask me to throw a baseball right now, I'm going to say, well, maybe I'll just underhand it to you because I suck at throwing. But, I got so burnt out. And that's tough on kids, to feel like there's so much pressure to the point where they just don't enjoy it anymore.
I always wonder about that with kids. I've never, when I was a kid, I kind of moved around a bunch and just, I was never settled anywhere. So I never got to really lock into anything as far as athletics or any kind of passion as a kid. So I always wonder that when I look at it from the outside, when I see friends who, we grew up together and they, play um, football. Football is the big one, or lacrosse out here. And I always wonder, do you still love it like you used to love it? Or for some of them, I know I have some friends who are only playing football because their dads wanted them to play football. And I had that discussion with my brother-in-law at Thanksgiving, last time we had Thanksgiving 2019.
Yeah.
And he says to me, he goes, because I've always loved football, I always played, and my body and all the injuries, that's proof of it, later in life. Uh, and Thanksgiving, we're Detroit fans, so we all sit around, watch the Lions lose, and it's like it's a tradition now. We just, hey, sir,
Yeah.
you got, like, all right, make sure you got 2 boxes of tissue because it's gonna be a bad one. It's the Bears. They're playing the Bears, so we're gonna cry a lot.
Mm.
But we're sitting there last year, and he goes, somehow the discussion comes up, and we're talking about kids playing football and homeschooling, because I think that's where it stemmed from, because we're homeschooling my daughter, at least to start off.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, if you had a son, you homeschool him, he couldn't play football. I was like, sure, he could play football. Like, yeah, I mean, Jason Taylor, who played for the Dolphins, he was homeschooled, and he got a scholarship to play for Akron University in Ohio. He got drafted to the Dolphins. Like, it's doable. It's
There are prodigies that, despite everything that happens, they're going to play professional sport.
Yeah. I mean, just like looking at MMA, when you look at someone like Francis Ngannou, like this guy just started training to fight, like what, 5-6 years ago, and he's the heavyweight champ. So, if you're meant to do it and you want to do it, you're going to do it. But as we're discussing it, I told him, I was like, I'm going to be honest. I mean, given all the stuff that I've been through with football and the pressure that I had, high school at least, like high school football was kind of a weird thing for me because I wasn't like fully active. I just wasn't attentive enough. Like my brain was just like, I was all over the place. So I'm there at practice, but I wasn't like there. So when they say, hey, let's run this play, I'm like, just get me the ball. I'll get it, Phil. I know how to get there. But I had, a lot of injuries. Like it's more so head related. And I said to my brother-in-law, I was like, honestly, I mean, I don't know if I want my son playing football, especially now, just looking at, all the research they're doing now on retired players. And he turns to me, he's like, you mean to tell me if you had a son, you wouldn't let him play football? I was like, if he wants to play football, yeah. But I'm not going to tell him, yeah, you got to play football because I play football. This isn't varsity blues. This isn't the 1990s and the 1980s where, my dad played football, so I got to play football, and my kid's going to play football, and my grandkid's going to play football. It's like, at least not for me, and I don't want that to be this, the feel with jiu-jitsu either. I don't want to be like, well, I did jiu-jitsu, so she has to do jiu-jitsu.
Right.
I want her to at least try it.
I think a lot of people that are within the community understand that it's not for everyone. I mean, for anyone that sticks around for any length of time, like they quickly realize that it's not for everyone, and you have to really have a special love, and you have to kind of find it for yourself.
Yeah.
And if you don't, I don't think that it's really going to be something that you stick with. It's not one of those, you get people that come on and they love it for a while, and then, they quit at blue belt or whatever like that. Of course that happens, but the people that really stick around, the people that really get to that high level are the people that just can't help but love it. They can't help but keep coming.
I feel like for me, even at blue belt, I've been there, I think 2 years now. Blue belt. Yeah, that seems like 2 or 3 years. Now that I'm back into it, even if I stayed at blue, but I get to continue to grow and learn. I feel, as you grow and learn, you should be moving up. But for me, it's like, even if, let's say, the next 5 years pass and I'm still a blue belt, I'm still getting to do what I enjoy. And that's because the belts are nice, but it's not the end all be all. I have a teammate. I've been training for 6 years, and I don't know how long he was a blue belt before I got there, but he's been a blue belt for a long time. And I know that he's, like just training with him and watching him go. It's like, I'm pretty sure this guy is, well beyond blue belt. But, it's like, look, he's growing, he's learning, he's proficient. But again, it's not about the belt. It's about your love for the sport. It's,
Yep.
What you get from it. So that's a big thing that I try to remind myself just as I step onto the mat. Just go out there, make the reps count, and enjoy yourself. Don't hurt yourself, because that's something now that I'm trying to remember in my older age. I think I started at 38, maybe 37. I don't know. One of those numbers. 37 seems right. And even then at 37, I was a scrambler. Like, just, put me with anyone, and, like the younger guys, it's going to be a scrap.
Yeah.
After about a year of that, maybe 2 years of that, I think when I hit 39, I was like, yeah, let's slow down. Let's relax.
Let's enjoy the pace. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
Just live. For you, when you were moving up, from blue belt to purple belt, or just at blue belt period, what was it like for you at that point? Just, I guess I'm trying to figure out how I want to word it, because I had it in my head a couple minutes ago, then I lost it. But as you were just kind of absorbing your info and progressing, what was that turning point for you at blue belt where you felt like was kind of elevating you now to or to the next level?
Yeah. So, we talked a little bit about it last time that we got to talk, but my journey's taken me all over the place. I started in a very small town in Southwest Arkansas. It was like 46 miles from the closest interstate, like middle of the sticks, and it was a gym of like 4 people. It was a Taekwondo gym, and I started staying for the MMA class for like their no-gi jiu-jitsu. And I trained there for like 2 years, and like honest to God, never tapped anyone in 2 years, because it was like the same 4 regulars, and they were getting better at the same rate that I was. So I never had the opportunity to catch them, because as I was learning tricks, they were learning them too. So there was never that, like, I'll call it fresh meat coming in, like that moment where I could really like hone my own skills. So when I moved from there to Little Rock, I started training at Westside MMA under Coach Rolly Delgado and Matt Hamilton. And that's the gym that right now TJ Brown and Bryce Mitchell from the UFC are both coming out of. So it's a high level gym, and so I came in even with 2 years of like no gi experience. When I started training gi, like it was like a different level. So I started as a white belt that knew the terms but didn't know the details like I should have. And being around just so many different people, Rolly gave me my blue belt, and honestly, it's been so long now that I don't really remember much about that. Like I remember getting tips, I remember getting the blue belt, but I don't remember my mindset. I don't remember what it was like. I do have this like vague remembrance of like, I don't deserve this, and suddenly everyone is like tougher and meaner, but I just remember being along for the ride and enjoying it. And I remember actually at the time, Matt Hamilton, and I post this from time to time, talk about how the only belt that he ever wanted was the blue belt, and after that he was disappointed with each next belt that he got. Matt Hamilton was old school. He flew to California to train with a blue belt, because that's how few people were doing jiu-jitsu. Like he traveled far and wide just to get some jiu-jitsu. He was, the first like pro MMA person out of Arkansas, I think. So to hear him talk about what he had to do to be a blue belt, and then, here I am homegrown in a blue belt. But it always stuck with me that he didn't care about the belt after blue. He realized like it doesn't really matter, and that it's, it's going to happen either way. So just be along for the ride. When it really started to click with me that I was getting to like a higher level, I don't compete often. I compete probably 2 or 3 times a year. The whole process is like incredibly exhausting for me. It's not that I get a lot of performance anxiety, but honestly, I just don't perform well in competition. And so I have to go into it like, I have to depressure myself first. I have to go into it like wanting to learn, wanting to grow from it. And that was actually like the turning point where I realized I'm probably progressing beyond blue belt, is when I had the wherewithal about myself to understand, oh, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to work on something specific and just try to have fun, that it's not about the ego anymore. And when I did that, there was something that happened in my mind that like competition became more tactical. It became just more fun. And so like, I felt super comfortable competing at that point. And there are blue belts that, I tapped in competition that probably should have been more difficult than what it was, because I was just like comfortable. It made it easier. So that was a moment where I'm like, okay, I'm obviously at the very least a higher level blue belt, and I'm probably getting close to purple. And it wasn't long after that there was a moment there where I'm like, oh, these competition wins are coming much easier. Like, it's not a 6-minute dogfight. It's like a 2-minute grappling match that I controlled most of it. So I got my purple belt, and then when I competed at purple, it was like the exact opposite of that. It was like a 6-minute dogfight, exhausted, feeling like I didn't deserve it. But yeah, I think it was when I felt like I was getting close to purple was when I just felt like blue fit me really well. When I felt like I'd gone past, the turbulence, and it settled into something that made sense to me, and I was comfortable doing, and that even in the most stressful situation of competition for me, it still felt like right.
I asked that because me being at blue, I'm like, let me talk to somebody who's now purple. Hey, what did you do at blue? And it's like, okay, all right, this is I'm not quite at that feeling yet, especially coming back now. I'm now just getting to the point where I'm actually holding my own against the higher striped white belts, and I was like, oh, okay, now I can, okay, now I got you guys under control. All right, now bring on these blue belts again.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of like important things to remember, in my opinion. The first is that, like, no matter what, when you step on the mats, you are going against a real human being that can generate an awful lot of power, and that they have a will. They have a will to use that power against you. And at no point is it ever, oh, as a purple belt, I can never be beat by a blue belt or even a white belt, because if that will and their technique and their size and or strength or whatever align, you can get in a bad spot and you can lose.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it. And that's, you have to take yourself out of the equation, in a lot of ways, to just accept the fact that there are people that are going to be specimens. There are going to be 16-year-old blue belts that are gigantic and perfectly poised to stomp you, and it's going to happen, at some point.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. You're going to get somebody that has a will and that has power, and you're not guaranteed to win.
That's what I've been coming into at least this next run of jiu-jitsu for myself. As I've reintroduced myself to the newer run of white belts we have at the gym, and some of them were there before, a couple of them, but there's some bigger fellas. There's a few wrestlers, and that's one thing I always keep in mind. I don't look at the belt and say, oh, it's just a white belt, because I don't know what their background is.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if there's one guy in there. So previously, I walk into the gym. I'm a very reserved and awkward and shy person. Contrary to what people may think with, me doing this, it's because we have a screen, and, it's just internet world builds a different kind of human. But most times in person, I'm very awkward and very shy. But there was a point walking into that gym, I was the loud guy, not obnoxiously loud, but like, you knew I was there. I was there greeting everyone. I'm friendly with everyone. I'm cracking jokes with everyone. now that we've come back from COVID and we're trying to get back to some sense of normalcy, I come in now and I'm looking around the room. I just kind of go sit over by myself, kind of do some light stretches. And, I hear a lot of, there's this one guy, he's very outgoing and just very talkative. I've seen him there since we've come back. I've never seen him before. And I always say to myself, it's like, I like to roll with that guy. I never get to see him roll. It's like, I want to roll with that guy just because I'm curious.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's the loudest one in the room. I want to know. But there was just something about him yesterday's class. There's like just this light bulb moment. I was like, I think that dude's a wrestler. There's just something about him. I was like, I still want to roll with him, but now I have to adjust my frame of thought getting into a match with him. But yeah, anyone can get you. Like, it doesn't matter. And our wrestling coach, he's embracing jiu-jitsu now. And I told him the other day, we're doing no-gi. We're doing King of the Hill. And I had to pair up with him. And I walk over and I go, one of the things I fear most is a wrestler that embraces jiu-jitsu. And he goes, Coach Keith just said that to me the other day too. And then we proceeded to have this crazy just dog fight, the two of us, his wrestling versus my jiu-jitsu. And it ultimately ended up with him like besting me. He got the sweep, or no, he got a takedown because we scrambled to our feet. And as soon as we got to our feet, my first thought was, do not let him take you down.
Yep.
Like, do not.
Be the first.
And I made that attempt, and it was I don't want to say the biggest mistake of my life, but it was just like, what do I look like trying to shoot a double leg on a wrestler? Like,
yeah.
Like, not just a wrestler, like, a D1 wrestler from Pennsylvania, our wrestling coach, it's like, I tried to shoot. It didn't work. He sprawled. We got back up, and it was basically like you could see in his mind, let me show you how it's done.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, cool. I'll all right. And, afterward, I walk over to, was like, thank you, hugged him, and, went back to the back of the line, come back around, paired back up with him. And I was like, I'm not letting this get to the feet. We will stay on this ground. And I got stuck in his half guard. And then I think he ended up getting a sweep on me. And I was like, okay, cool. Went back to the back of the line, came back and ended up with him again. I was just like, I don't know if I have an answer for you right now. But like, I got to figure it out.
Let me do some research and get back to you.
Yeah, so yeah, that's basically he's on vacation this week. So he won't be there Friday. He'll be back next week. So hopefully by then I'll have something for him, because I'm not getting body slammed by him again. I'm not getting swept from half guard by him. Like, part of me is like, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. But the other part is like, I mean, he, again, he's got, much, much more experience grappling wise. So it's like, there's no shame there. And really, it's more of a learning experience anyway, because it's like, okay, he showed me something different that I was very confident in with my leverage and my base. And he showed me that, hey, like, it ain't all, it ain't all that. So now it's like, okay, I got to figure myself out.
Got to figure it out.
But in 1 week, like, we're doing this again. And I'm
probably a week after that and a week after that.
Yep. And those are the things that, I embrace about jiu-jitsu though. You keep coming back, you keep doing it. And it's the moment that you don't want to do it anymore is where now you have to say, is this the thing for me?
Yeah. So, man, I agree. So I've been doing this long enough now that I can spot trends in jiu-jitsu world. And it's just so interesting to me because we're in a sport that is evolving, and it's evolving so quickly. Like you could draw a line in the sand at UFC 1, and it's like that could be year 0, and we're in right now, UFC whatever year it's been, 25 or something, 30. But at that moment, people realized, wow, grappling is important.
Yeah.
And people wanted to like jump on Brazilian Jiu Jitsu because obviously that's what won. But since then, there's been this really slow buildup of the more traditional wrestling arts. Like, I'm here in Arkansas, and there was zero wrestling as a sport in Arkansas for me growing up. When I started jiu-jitsu, there was zero, but now
Mhm.
like some of the local schools are starting to have wrestling teams. I'm pretty close to Oklahoma, which is a huge wrestling powerhouse. There's like wrestling is becoming sort of the off-season sport for grapplers, especially kids,
Mhm.
and it's growing in popularity. And I did a blog entry a couple years ago where I interviewed Rolly, and I was just curious, since he really had his thumb on the pulse of grappling in the state and nationwide, uh, what effect is wrestling having on jiu-jitsu? And he made a comment that was, it rang true then, and I'm seeing it really come home now, is, wrestling is just reinforcing the idea that the person who's on top is the person who's winning. And jiu-jitsu for a long time was focused on being the smaller person, the person on bottom, and how can you win from the position of weakness. But these wrestlers that they get out of school and they don't have wrestling anymore, they're coming into jiu-jitsu. These wrestling coaches are influencing jiu-jitsu, and the truth and the reality is people that want to be on top as opposed to on bottom are winning more matches than people that want to be on bottom. And there's a fundamental truth: the person who is on top is the person who's winning. And that's the way it is. And that's a beautiful thing about wrestling, is that it teaches you how to be on top. It teaches you how to pin. It teaches you how to control everything. You don't get swept very often if you're a good wrestler. So, I mean, we were stuck in for a long time traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and now there's a shift, and in only 10 years that shift is rapid and it's obvious.
Yeah, that's an issue that I have coming into
Me too.
jiu-jitsu is I'm always comfortable being like on the bottom. And now we're getting a lot of wrestlers coming in like, okay, you want to be there? That's fine. Stay there because I'm going to keep you there anyway. You're not going to be able to get your underhooks. You're not going to be able, and in the gi, it's a little different, but no gi, it's not even close. It's like, and when we were doing no gi at our old location, it was mostly wrestlers that were showing up. And you have your occasional, me come in there and say, okay, because I'm just there for grappling, period. I put up a post earlier today, basically, always mocking gi versus no gi, always. And I put my own little comment in there, basically saying, at the end of the day, it's all grappling. But there is that shift though, where with jiu-jitsu, yeah, the smaller guy could get the upper hand. The smaller guy could be, on the ground and still prevail. But now you're getting the guys that are like, okay, well, now we want top control. And I have to, for myself, train myself to not just get so comfortable with falling to the mat and thinking, okay, I can go ahead and get a quick lasso and uh, get a hammer sweep or something, versus because now they're keen to that too. Like, well, I'm not going
Yeah.
to let you get that in. I'm just going to pass your guard and control you from there. So with the change of the game, just kind of going as it is, myself, I have to try to change with it because I'm old. I'm stubborn. I'm like, hey man, I started this and I was doing this. I don't want to go to that now. And it's like, well, if you want to progress, you have to at least maybe not completely go to it, but you got to get some elements there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're never gonna you're not gonna be able to keep up with the game because there's gonna be another shift, and with that shift, it's just gonna be building upon the elements that were already there and now adding something else. And if you're still on that first, and now they're on the fifth, one of my teammates and I, we always sit down. We kind of have this discussion. I want to say maybe every 6 months, and we talk about UFC. Any of the earlier UFCs. You put any of those fighters against guys now. I mean, we saw it with Tank Abbott versus Frank Mir as one of those examples. You take guys. When everybody talks about would John Jones be able to beat Chuck Liddell? I mean, yeah. I mean, he has different tools. The game, he knows different things than what Chuck knew. So yes, when you look at Anderson Silva versus Israel Ayasanda, Anderson, and granted, age is a big thing there too, but Izzy, he just has different tools. He knows different things. And that's just how the progression goes. Whenever the discussion of greatest of all time for anything comes up, it's very difficult to do. But I always use my computer as comparisons for that because I have an old Mac behind me from 2011, and it still runs well. In its day, it was great.
Yeah.
And it's still pretty good now. But the Mac that I'm on right now is from 2020. And that Mac can't touch this Mac, not even close.
No, of course not.
So, and that's how I look at that argument. It's like LeBron versus Jordan, Hickson versus Gordon Ryan. Any of these debates is like, yeah. I mean, it's tough to say, but just kind of using that logic of the growth of the sport. In my mind, it's always going to favor the newer guy because he has the knowledge of the old and the new now. So,
yeah. I mean, you're seeing right now, for the first time in history, kids that are training MMA as a standalone sport. Mm-hmm. You're seeing kids that are coming out of high school who their sport is MMA. Yeah. They've been integrated in how those different aspects, the ground game, the stand-up game, takedown game, the cage game, everything has been unified for them and trained as a unit. And you are never going to be able to beat somebody who is fully integrated when you are a specialist on, like an old school specialist, because they know how to get around you.
Like when you look at a fighter like Damian Maia, he's still active. I mean, he went back and retooled his striking because the striking used to just be to set up takedowns.
Right.
And it's still kind of that way, but it improved a little bit. Fabricio Verdun, his at least improved where he could manage standing up. And there was another grappler I can't think of right off top, but those guys are specialists, and they're great fighters, but you're not gonna hang with George St. Pierre, who just could do everything, and he's kind of that one that's unfair to use because he's a freak of nature, and even John Jones is a freak of nature as well. But when you get to these guys who, like when Israel moved up to light heavyweights. And yes, Jan had, the weight advantage on him, but it was more so once he wrapped him up. It was like, okay, you're not getting away from me. I'm a grappler. You're a striker. And, again, it's not to say, they can't survive, but when you got someone that's kind of got a well-rounded game where it's like I can strike and grapple and, defend, I have all these tools versus someone who's like in Damian Maia's case, when he fought Anderson Silva, he, wanted Anderson to come down to him. And Anderson was like, nope, not falling for that. Nope. You can stand up and come to me because I know you can't do it up here. But that's also kind of the same. Anderson's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but it's there are different levels to that black belt when you're going against Damian Maia versus Anderson Silva. Yeah, I feel like Damian Maia might be that guy that's going to have the upper hand, and Anderson probably knew that. That's why he didn't want to go there. It was like,
right.
And also, considering in his run right before that, he was knocking everyone out anyway. So I think he was like, look, I just want to get this quick knockout and move on. But who knows? Maybe they'll do an ESPN 30 for 30 and he'll discuss it. I hope. I don't know. With ESPN having UFC content, it's like, come on, let's get more UFC interviews like that.
You're good. So what you were saying earlier, it kind of struck a chord with me. Mentioning if you have a specialist and you have kind of an all around player, or whatever, that can get around them. The same strategy is what I use for jiu-jitsu. It's the advice that I give to a lot of white belts is, if you don't know how to beat somebody, like the best strategy you can adopt is whatever they're bringing to you is their A game. Cancel that A game. Like your first step is do not let them do what they want to do. And then the second step is then you do what you want to do. But you got to get them out of their A game into their B game, and then bring your A game to their B game. And that's the best way that you can win. And that's what's going on, in a lot of these even big matches is you have these people that have, everyone knows their A game, and you have people that know how to get them out of that A game into their B game. And they train to specialize against that.
That's actually, when I think about it, early on, I was doing that a lot. Like not knowing that I was doing it, it was like, look, I know this guy wants this. I have a weird stocky neck, so there are a couple guys that love triangles, a couple guys who love guillotines, and trying to get me there was always difficult. And even once they got me there, just I turtled my neck, like shrunk my neck, and it's like you're not getting in there. Like it was so bad. At one point, I put a bounty out on myself. I was like, look, if you can triangle me, I'll take you out to dinner. I owe you. And it was not happening. Like, yeah. and I fall into it, but also knowing, people are going for it, because it's like, okay, now that that's there, they want the triangle. Yeah. So it's like, I'm already in your head. I've already told you what you can't do. You want to do it. So we're going to play. We're going to dance this. One person did actually triangle me, but he was not aware of the stipulations. So yeah, I'm not feeding him. And it was well deserved. He earned it because he had me in that triangle for a while, and I think he readjusted 4, maybe 5 times.
That's what you got to do.
And it really got to a point. It wasn't so much the choke as much as it was exhaustion on my part.
Yeah, because just giving up on it.
I knew he wasn't going to stop. I was like, I don't know that I can adjust anymore with him. Like every time he moves, I got to move. He goes here, I got to go to the other side. He goes to that side, and I got to move here. And the last one that he did, I was just like, dude, I can't keep up with him anymore. It was like after class, so there was no timer on. It was just us rolling. Yeah. I was just like, okay, all right, tap. And funny enough, I think maybe 2 weeks after that, he got promoted to purple belt. And it was like, when he got promoted, I was like, dude, like
it's because he beat you.
So I jokingly I did. So it was like, yeah. I mean, I guess you got that triangle on me. Nobody else could. You got it. But the fact that he just stuck with it and kept, going through the adjustments, that's a key point too, though. Just in the growth, it's like, don't give up on the move. And, a lot of white belts give up on something. Well, so a lot of white belts won't give up on something when it's time to give up on something, but then a lot of them will give up on something that they should not have given up on.
Yeah.
And blue belt, that happens a lot too, where
it's tough to know where that line is, where you sinking resources where you ought not to, and where should you just add a little bit more leverage to it to finish it off.
Like I rolled with my coach, the former owner. He's still my coach.
Yeah,
my daughter's
still forever. I know how that goes.
Like anytime I say coach, anyone, because like I call everyone there just about coach. And my daughter's like, coach, like, okay, I know what coach you're thinking. Like I'm talking about Coach Naomi, which she's like, okay, Coach Naomi, I know Coach Naomi. But I rolled with him. He messaged was like, hey, you want to come up and roll? I was like, all right, yeah, sure. Like, went up to the gym. We're rolling. I get him in a cross choke, and it was in. I was like, oh, I got you. This is gold. It was the moment. He looked me dead in the eye, and gave me that look like it's not in. And I let go. He go, why'd you let go? You had me. And I was like, what? And then he proceeded to beat the shit out of me from that point.
This is not the choke you're looking for.
Yeah, he Jedi mind tricked me.
Jedi mind trick, man. It's a real thing in jiu-jitsu.
Like I had him, and I was like, and I was confident in it. I felt like I was like, I have this. There's no way he's getting out of this. There's nowhere for him to go. And then he looked me dead in the eye, and it was a look like he didn't even look like he was straining.
Yeah.
And that's why I let go. I was like, I feel like it's tight, but it doesn't look like it's tight. And after I let go, I was like, why'd you let go? And then he whipped the shit out of me. And then afterward we talked, I was like, no, dude, you had me. Like, and then he texted me later that night to remind me, you had that choke. You should have never let it go.
You had it.
He texts me the next day. It reminds me again. He wrist locked me last week. And that's another thing I've prided myself on not getting caught with the wrist locks. He got the wrist lock, and my daughter was there. He just had a child, and my daughter's there playing with his 9-month-old, and he gets the wrist lock, and I screamed. Like, my daughter looked like, oh my God, something's wrong with Dad. Like, I screamed, and I like slapped the mat, and I just walked away.
It makes you angry.
Because every time we roll, he goes for a wrist lock, and like, I know he's going for it. I tense up my my whole hand, my wrist. He's not getting it. This time, because he had a Kimura. He was going for a Kimura.
Oh, that Kimura transition there is brutal when it hits.
And I was not thinking. I was like, okay, nope, he's not getting the Kimura on me. And then and it's like, it's almost like I knew it was there as soon as I was like, he's not getting the Kimura. And then I was like, oh no. And then it happened. And it was just, and then of course he proceeds to text me the rest of the night. He sent me a picture of an x-ray of an arm with the red mark and a circle on the wrist. He's like, so how's the wrist doing? And then he told everyone at the gym. He told his wife. I was like, dude, like, you just love to torture me. But it's those things that it gets weird when it comes to when to give up on something and when not to. You have a lot of white belts. They'll go for something. They're holding on to something. It's like, dude, you're not even close.
They'll just grab the head and hold it forever.
I rode with a young man today. I think after we got done, I asked him. He's been training for 2 months. And when he was in my guard, he's trying to stand up. He kept standing up without, he was doing I like the standing guard break. You block one in the hands, and he kept standing up without doing that. So I kept double ankle picking him. He did it again. I do it one more time. And then finally I was like, okay, look, you have to block one of my arms. So he pins one of my arms and tries to go for a paintbrush or an Americana in my guard. And I was like, okay. All right. And he's going for it. He's like, okay. So finally, I swing around, I take his back, and I'm just kind of holding him, just kind of, seatbelt grip and trying to reposition myself. The time goes off, so I go into his guard. He's like, okay, let's just work on what we just drilled. Like, kind of in a live situation, I'm going to give a little resistance. So then I showed him, all right, this is how you stand up from guard. You got to block one of these hands. And then we went from there. We're doing the omoplata sweep and rolling into a rolling omoplata. So he got there, but my shoulder wasn't really secure. So there was no danger for me at all. Right. No pain, no nothing. He is just cranking, trying. He's like, I got this. I'm like, there's no threat here. Like, and those are those moments. And again,
you say he was a bigger guy.
Yeah, he was not much bigger, but he was definitely leaner, like stronger than me for sure.
I've noticed like a trend in like a competitor's size as a white belt and their desire to rip your shoulder to pieces. For some reason, that is just not a rear naked choke, but it's like they want to just twist your shoulder. They want to twist your arm off. Mm-hmm. And it's brutal. I mean, I got when I was in Magnolia, that small gym, a guy came in and he was way bigger than me. At the time, I was maybe 145 pounds, 150 pounds. And this guy is, 220 pounds of, if not more, of just like fat. But he came in with this like ego, and he got a hold of my arm and just absolutely crunched it. And it hurt my shoulder. Like I was out for a couple weeks, and I was just so like, why would he do that? Like knowing that this is, my joints are on the line.
And that it's weird with I don't know, just people in general. Anytime I go to a different gym and I train with anyone, I'm going maybe 40%. Number one, just we all got to go to work the next day. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, just out of respect. It's like, I don't know you, you don't know me. This isn't a competition. Let's just kind of get a flow going and get a feel for each other. But I've come across so many people, they show up to the gym and it's wartime. It's like, yeah, I want your shoulder. I want that arm. I'm like, hey, man, do not break my elbow. I have shit to do after this.
Yeah, for real.
Like, I got to run errands.
Hey, once you get that purple belt around your waist, you really got some shit to deal with.
Dude,
Everyone wants a purple belt arm to take home and put over their mantle.
Hey, I mean, when my one buddy, he got promoted to purple belt, he was already purple belt by the time I really started getting my foot in. But once I started getting my foot in, I was always going. So he told me that his knees, he can't like have his knees pushed in.
Yeah. So
he can't do like a butterfly sweep. He has a hard time with that. So anytime we start in guard, I'll get one of the legs out and I'll pin his leg back. It's like, I know, well, it's not that it hurts. He has no strength, so he can't push me off. So it's like, oh, you should have never told me that. Because now that I know, this is my move every time. He also likes to wrist lock. So I know to be on guard with him. And now that he knows that it's happened recently, he thinks that my guard is down. Absolutely not.
Nope.
But he still gets me with just tons of other just disrespectful moves that I feel like there's a purple belt like secret like society where it's like, hey, these are the moves you use if you really want to be belligerent to someone. It's like like I feel hurt, like my feelings are hurt at times. Like, dude, why would you even think to do that? That's horrible. But when I got promoted to blue belt, like coach did it at the beginning of the class and then proceeded to, it was like, oh, cool, congrats. And like, all right, we're going to play King of the Hill. And Dante, you're down. It's like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, all right. Which King of the Hill, to be fair, I'm trash when it comes to being down. I'm not defending the hill at all. But like when it comes to passing the guard, it's like, I'm going to more often not get past you unless you're a D1 wrestler, Coach Mike. But he was like, okay, and like everyone just lined up. It was like, yeah, we want a piece of this guy. I was like, dude, I'm still the same guy. If I didn't get this belt today, I would have still been that white belt. Like, you guys can cool out. Then the next class, it was just again more of it like, I want to roll with you. I want to roll with you. It's like, it's no different. I'm still me. I didn't learn anything in the last 2 days different because I got to be.
And that's like every person you meet is, I rolled with the blue belt today or yesterday that I hadn't seen in class before because I haven't been in this new gym for that long, so I don't know everyone. But he came in and he was a blue belt, so I approached it like I do most blue belts, and then I found out that it was like his first class as a blue belt.
Mm.
And it was like, if he'd been a 4-stripe white belt, I would have approached it differently. But even as you get older, and even if you like deeply understand it, like, man, somebody comes at you like with a different rank, like you have to assume that they're going to have a certain level behind it. And if you just give them opportunities, they're going to take it. And if they're, if they have a body and they have a will, they can get you.
I wonder if, I guess it's not so much a wonder. I think with age too, because again, me, I'm 43. Like everyone, I'm like, all right, I'm going to start off at 40%. That's my start to kind of get a feel for people.
Yeah.
Like if I start at 40, you start at 70, then I know I got to go up to 70.
Yeah.
But that's my base. And on the Wednesday morning classes that I train at, it's mostly white belts, because those classes are fundamental classes, which I don't know. In my mind, I just love just going over fundamentals over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Um, I've been writing notes constantly again, and um, I'm just back on it. But when there's the occasional blue belt in that class, we pair up. And a lot of times when they're coming to that class, they're getting ready for a competition. I'm learning this now.
Mm-hmm.
I paired up with one guy. He was getting ready for, I think, the Memphis Open. And I'm thinking like, okay, it's going to be like a nice little friendly, like, let's just go back and forth. This dude, he wasn't like out for blood, but you can tell he was working on stuff. And I
He's
was just
working, yeah.
like, man, like, look, I'm a hobbyist, man. Like, just let me know what you want to work on and we can get there, but
Yeah.
don't throw me on my head. And then, but on the other end of that though, there's a blue belt there last week, because now I know I've come across these guys like, oh, they're prepping. So he comes in. I was ready for him. I was like, okay, you want to start 70? Let's start. And he wasn't on that level. Like, I think he was thinking more like me. Let's go 40. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
but
like, oops. All right, let me bring it down a notch. But and I'm not sure how long he had been a blue belt, because his movements were just very um he was kind of hesitant with a lot of stuff.
yeah,
So I was like, okay, you know what? That's cool. Let's work on what we know and just get these
yeah,
moves off. But I always wonder, at times when you're going against someone, especially a blue belt, and then the age. It's like when I go against a younger blue belt, yeah, it's wartime. They're gunning for me. But if it's an older blue belt, this more like, look, I'm just on my lunch break. I'm not trying to fuck around.
yeah,
Like let's relax. But no matter the age for a white belt, old or young, they are trying to kill you, and they don't even understand that they're trying to kill you.
yeah,
There's this one guy. He's been there a little while now. Nice guy. And every time I roll with him, it's basically like you say, you got to take away their A game. And I know what his A game is. I know what he's looking to do. And it's like, I'm just going to take that away from him.
yep,
And then he muscles through. And it's like, oh, God damn it. Like, I know you're stronger than me, but I know I can still kind of hold you at bay.
yeah.
But then we're going to spend the whole roll doing just that. And that's a waste of our time. But it's all stuff in time that they learn, and I always have to remind people, with like a lot of the white belts though, it's nice, respectful, but they'll come and ask me all these questions like, look, man, I'm still learning. Like this blue on my belt, it's really not much different than that white on yours. It's just that I've been doing it a little longer, and I'm still looking for the same answers that you're looking for. So, and it's going to be that way for a while, but I'm always looking for answers, because I have a thirst for knowledge. I got questions, always got questions, even for my daughter. It's like when she's watching cartoons, like, so what are they doing again? So why are they going up that mountain?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, cool. Like, all right,
You want to see the whole picture, how it all works together, man. I get that.
Yeah, it's like, do they have action figures? Because if they do, I'll collect them. It's like,
Yeah.
I think I do have a problem. It's like, hey, so does that come in plastic? Probably gonna buy it.
Yeah, my son is super into Bakugan right now, and he obviously is a collector, because I was looking at his little Bakugan that he has. He keeps them in a little ball, and he keeps them on the couch now, and like the crevices between the cushion, because it lines them up nice.
Yep.
And he said, Dad, I wanted to cover the whole couch in Bakugan. And I counted the cracks, and I could like estimate. I was like, dude, that's like $600 for the Bakugan. Like, we're not going to do that. And I was like, you got about $160 here. Let's play with those for now.
Oh yeah. My daughter, she is into Hot Wheels, specifically the Super Mario Brothers Hot Wheel cars, and she has a pretty nice collection. Like she has for sure all the main characters, and now there's some other side characters she has now. Now
Yeah.
she's starting to get the tracks. Is and I can't say anything because if you look in my basement, there are all these stupid fucking X-Men figures. So I can't get mad at her. I can't be like, hey, we need to slow down. And she'll look at me like, excuse me, Mr. Amazon. Like, no.
Yeah. Does it drive
But
you crazy to see her like play with a toy and actually like slam them together and like you're like, oh no.
so actually she doesn't do that. So we bought her this set when she was an infant. I was out at the store and I was doing what I do, buying action figures. And we saw this set of DC comic the superhero girls. It was basically like school age versions of Batgirl, Batgirl, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, Supergirl, Katana. I think there were 7 of them in total in the pack. And we just gave them to her for her birthday this year. And she plays with them, and surprisingly, she's very just like gentle with them, and that actually kind of drives me crazy. It's like, be a 5-year-old, like
Yeah.
throw them, like that's Supergirl. She can fly. Watch. They don't like playing with me when we play with the figures because I'm like the rude bully of the group. So
Yeah.
she has some Disney.
Well, you want to
like-
create some friction to make the story interesting.
Yeah, like she had these Disney princesses, and they wanted me to be Ariel. I was like, okay, I'll be Ariel, and she was Belle. She like comes up, hey Ariel. And I was like, hey Belle, you're looking kind of beastly today. And my wife was like, stop. And I can't remember who my wife was. Oh, my wife was using Sleeping Beauty, and I was like, oh. It's finally good to see you up on your feet these days because most of the time you're just being lazy. She was like, you're not allowed to play anymore. I was like, come on, dude. Like, it's me. I can't play with these things without saying something snarky.
Yeah.
Now she gives me the DC figures. I'm Wonder Woman every time, and I'm always saying something. Like she brings over Supergirl. She doesn't get the whole kryptonite thing. I was like, I noticed you don't have any green on your outfit. So I was like, stop. I was like, come on, dude. I gotta be the bully. Like she needs to learn this now. It's better to learn it from me. But she's very good with all her toys. And it might be because she sees in the basement when I'm like setting mine up, I'm very like particular, and because she knows she comes down here, she doesn't mess with anything. She looks at them. She knows, look with her eyes. I've given her like spare figures that she's like, my daughter has quite the Deadpool collection because whenever they do a Deadpool wave, I don't need 5 Deadpools. I just need the other pieces in the set, and I just give her Deadpool figures. And she's like, well, one day she's gonna be at a friend's house with a Deadpool figure. It was like, you can't play with that kid.
Like, that's like the one that they're really not supposed to, but
yeah,
that's fine.
I mean, I'm all about character and personality. So I want my kid to be, a fun kid. I don't want my kid to be like I said, I was awkward. So I don't want her to be me. I want her to be, anytime she sees the neighbor, she's always like, hey neighbor, how are you?
Yeah.
So me, I see people, I'm just like, like humanity.
Yeah, I'm definitely like better friends with strangers on the internet than I am like my own neighbors. Like people that are close, I'm like, yeah, I know you see what I have. I don't want you coming over here. You stay over on your side of this fence, and I'll stay on mine.
Yeah, that's exactly how I am. We just got a new neighbor a couple weeks ago, and I've seen them once. We kind of made eye contact, gave each other the nod, like, what's up? It just kind of went on our day.
Yeah.
But I know, like, the way that their house is set up, their kitchen is in the front of the house. So when they're in the kitchen a lot, so they see me every day coming out. And because at my gym, we wear white geese. So every time they see me come out the house, I'm wearing white pants and carrying a gym bag. It's like, what is this guy, a doctor? What is he doing? like he goes away for 3 hours and comes back. Like, he's a really shitty doctor. He doesn't really do a good job there. I only want him there full time. But it's like, part of me is like, hey, I want to go over and be neighborly, but at the same time, I was like, not really.
It's like a lot. They're just going to move at some point, and then you waste all that time.
Exactly. It's like, there's a guy across the street right now. He wants his daughter to do jujitsu. My daughter and his daughter are friends, and he and I have talked a bit. We talked about the fights and stuff, and it's it it's just a lot. Like I'll see them, and it's weird because I don't want to like drive past without waving, but at the same time, I don't want to get dragged into like, hey, so who you got for the fight this weekend? Because
Yeah,
number one, I'll go deep, I'll get into it, but also it's like I'm probably heading to work, I'm heading to class, and then it's exhausting to deal with people in person.
it is.
Like on Instagram, I'll chat here, I'll chat in person. I'd rather not. It's just like there's expectations. Like, hey, so you gonna mow your lawn? Like, nope. You got a
Not today.
14-year-old. Like, send your kid over. He can mow it. I give him $5.
Yeah.
For $5, like, yeah, there's a lot more than what I got for mowing a lawn when I was a kid. Like, send them over. I don't even think I got paid. I mowed a lawn. Like, sorry, I ain't got no money. I was like,
Yep.
oh, I should have knocked first. Um, so as I was mentioning earlier, taking notes with jujitsu and everything, you have the app
Yeah,
upcoming.
man.
How's that going?
Man, working hard on it. So as of right now, I've got a front end developer and a back end developer that are they're not like full time. They're doing it kind of on their own time. But the front end developer was um, he's been a good friend of mine for years and years. He was a groomsman at my wedding, and I reached out to him about last November or so when I realized that the job I was working at was probably going to kill me in stress. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, what have you been up to? I've got this app that I've been kind of working on, and I don't have time to work on it, and I really need to hand off some responsibilities because I think it has some legs. And he was like, I'm actually looking for some portfolio work. Yeah, I'll help you out. So brought him on, and he's been since he's been in app development for so long, like he's really been helping like drive the process from his end. We have a backend developer that I've never met, but he's a super cool guy, and he's doing all like the weird database stuff that like he explains it. I understand what it is. It's like, how can you just like magically do this? But basically, from the ground up, those two and myself have built now a like full vertical stack. We have a backend that is um, secure and running, and it can communicate with the front end, which is what users would see. And as of last week, I'm contracting on a UX UI guy to make sure that the flow of the app makes sense. When this rolls out to people outside of beta testing, I really want them to understand what everything is and what it does. And there's so much like nuance that goes into it. And I want to make sure I nail that off the gate. So it's kind of a me and team of three are working hard, and man, in the last few months, like started seeing real progress on it. Far enough along now that I felt comfortable doing the Kickstarter and bringing it up. And man, I'm excited. I'm hoping in like 5 or 6 weeks to have, possibly as early as like 4 weeks, having some of the really early beta features to start testing with people. But probably like 6 weeks before some of the more complex ones. And I kind of held, I mean, all the details on the app. We worked together on it early
Yeah.
on. So everything that's going on with it. But I really held that close to my chest for a long time because I knew how far away it was before the app would be realized. But now, I'm super excited to start like the guys and girls at the gym. I started talking to them about it. They're getting pumped up. I could talk about it for days and days, but in a nutshell, for anyone that's listening, it's going to be basically an active journaling app in its first version. It's going to be a way to organize your notes and thoughts, whether you're a white belt or a black belt, the way for you to retain information, to put it into our system, and to be able to access that information at a later date if you need. And let's face it, we always need to access that information at a later date. I mean, I wish I had notes on everything I've learned in the last decade, but I don't, because the app just doesn't exist that does it well. There are journaling apps out there, but they're all passive. There's none that can help steer you in the direction. So one of the really big features that, like, I haven't really talked to anyone in the public about it, but this is kind of like the big debut part of it, I guess, is there'll be features where you can upload your own videos, and you can use our app to help you do film studies of yourself, ways to organize the information. If you've never done a film study, it doesn't matter. We will help you do the film study. All you have to do is list, at this moment in the video, I got swept with this sweep. I ended up in this position, and just catalog the video. Here's how the video ended. I won by armbar. I lost by rear naked choke, whatever. And we will collect that data and start building like a digital profile of what your jiu-jitsu is. We'll be able to reference the notes that you've taken in the past, as well as other instructionals, whether it's YouTube or hopefully, paid instructionals at some point, to say, like, here's where you need help. Here's the position where it's all going wrong, and here's how you can fix it. And then the proof of concept is going to be when someone, goes to instructional and they fix it, and they see that moment where those stats shift. Oh, I was losing 30% by armbar over the last 2 months, and now it's only 5% by armbar. Like, anytime you can get that number to change, like, you're progressing. So be able to watch the progression over time. You'll always be chasing, like, your weakest link and getting rid of it. And over time, like, I think you're going to see grapplers that are much more well-rounded and much more focused without having to take decades to do it.
I'm excited about that. Just as you explain, especially with the video, because that's huge. Because I record some of my training, and I go back and I look at it, I'm just like, okay, like, it's tedious because for me it's disorganized.
Yeah.
And this just sounds organized. It sounds like not only organized, but it has intent. Like, there's a path to it. There's a reasoning, versus, again, I got tons of notebooks sitting here on my table right now of just notes, jiu-jitsu notes. And it's like, for me, taking notes, it helps to, when I have to recount it, to, either write it down or type it somewhere. It helps, but
sure.
But now it's just there.
Yeah, and here's the thing about jiu-jitsu that, like, I could almost pinpoint the exact date. I could go on my YouTube history probably and find the day I first watched the video. But when Joe Rogan interviewed John Danaher, and they were discussing the process on Gordon Ryan's heel hook finish at his, I think it was ADCC, and he was talking about, like, each moment and what the decisions were leading up to it, and how, like, every little movement was planned and coordinated. And it blew my mind, because up until that point, for me, jiu-jitsu had been this chaotic environment. It had been, a series of, you make the best decision that you can in a given time. And for the way that he spoke, I realized, like, oh my God, I've been learning jiu-jitsu in the worst way imaginable for my mind. Some, like, everyone learns differently. And, you go to school and people talk about learning, and they're like, well, I'm a visual learner. I need to see it up here. No, I need to hear it or I don't get it. I can read it and understand. Like, everyone learns differently. But jiu-jitsu in the past has been taught very, like, in one way. And the best people in the world at jiu-jitsu are the ones that learn best on that specific program. And when Danaher did that interview, I realized, like, there is an entire world of grappling that no one talks about, because no one is comfortable enough learning in that way. And that kind of set the stage. And so, like, that's what I want with this app is to help people that learn in different ways to get into it, to get over those hurdles. Like, here's a terminology. Oh, well, this is actually the same term as this other term. Like, it's the same thing. Use whatever term you want. Here's the basic battles you're fighting in these positions. And making it internal, because you'll be able to look at your own videos. Here's where I am struggling. Here's the submissions. And if I lose by armbar 30% of the time, and of those losses, 80% of the time I was in side control first. What's the common thread there that I can fix that changes it? And it's just never been like taught that way for a few reasons. One is like the best people in the world at jujitsu are the best in the world at jujitsu, not the best in the world at teaching. And you can train under a world class black belt, but if they can't teach it in the way that you need, then you can't learn. And the other struggle is if you're a world class black belt, you're going to have a school packed with people trying to learn from you. You can't give your attention 100% to each student.
Yeah.
And so it creates this environment where you get a lot of people trying to learn something specific, but have a hard time doing it because one, they don't have the attention that they need from the teacher or coach. And it's no fault of the teacher or coach. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Or two, their learning style may not mesh with the teacher or coach. And it's, again, there's nothing that can be done there because that teacher or coach is teaching it the way that it makes sense to them. They're putting their best language out there. And if you don't understand it, I mean, what can they do about it? And this app is going to decentralize the way that we learn jiu-jitsu. It's going to take it out of these like specialists and make it approachable and make it so that anyone, whether they're small town, whether like basically anybody's been on the journey that I've been on, would have had the opportunity to learn the fundamentals in a way that makes sense to them, to break down the information in a way that makes sense to them, and to provide resources to help them at the right moment in time when they need it.
Actually, just even the way that you're explaining that has me now looking back on how just the fundamentals alone for me, just how I went about learning it, but not just learning, but then applying it. And how I'm thinking is like, yeah, this would have been helpful, 6 years ago when I started. Oh snap! I think we're in May. Never mind. I started in April. I was like, I think my anniversary's coming up. Like I usually forget what month we're in a lot, but like just thinking about this, it's like, dude, I wish I would have had this even over the summer for that matter, where everything was shut down, but I still went in and worked with one of my teammates on takedowns, just over and over and over, just having this catalog, just to kind of work with. So I'm excited. Like even just, when you mentioned it before, I was like, hey, you're onto something. Like this is something that's needed out there. And there are other, little apps like that, but they're clunky. They're not just clunky, but it's just basically no different than me writing in my notebook now.
Right.
It's
they're
just
just journals, a passive journal.
Yeah. I mean, and, there are a couple of them, they've become more like social media now and less about, your documentation. It's like, hey, I train here, people come in and like it. It's like, okay, that's cool. But, what'd you do while training? What notes do you have while training? What did you gain? So this is awesome. All around, just, I'm excited for you. So,
yeah, I'm putting everything into it. I believe in jiu-jitsu. I believe in the power of it to be around for years and years. And I believe in the evolution. I've been in it, like I said, long enough now where like it's changing, and I would love to track those changes. I'd love to be able to say like, hey, since this app was started and people have been putting information in, not that I would ever like use individuals' information, but aggregating like total, like world armbar percentages are up 10% this year. What's going on? Like to be able to track like real changes in grappling would be so cool.
It's just like talking with you. I'm always fascinated by just your mind. Just with this, back a few months ago with, the whole, elite sports crash. Most of us were all ready to go to war, and you're like, hold on, let me like the way you like worded things. Just, you're a fascinating dude, and like we appreciate you. Just even just how you're breaking down jiu-jitsu and pointing out, the changes, the progression, the growth of the sport. A lot of us see it, but there's not that breakdown of it. We're just like, yeah, it's changing. It sucks.
Yeah.
I'm getting beat up by wrestlers. Like, oh, okay, well.
But how do you use it? How do you bring that into your own game? And there's some amazing instructionals. God, like Dan Her Death Squad, like all their instructionals are so freaking good. But you know what? They're not the end game. I mean, there will be an evolution even beyond, and even their own instructionals are evolving. Like, I guarantee you, they have the next 10 years mapped out on what their plan is. And as wrestling becomes bigger, as Sambo continues to kind of increase in popularity, like there's going to be some further shifts in our mentality in the way that we approach aspects of the game.
I mean, even Gordon Ryan recently, said, right now he's kind of held as, the number one jiu-jitsu player on the planet. He's like, someone's going to come along though. There's going to be someone, better than me. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
And just looking at how everything is evolving and growing. And that's the one thing you mentioned there too, Sambo, coming up and gaining some traction and popularity. Just, more people starting to really get into judo more and more again. So
catch wrestling, another, what's old is new. All the old catch wrestler guys have died out, but their legacy lives on. And I got to train under Coach Billy Robinson, who was like one of the last big strongholds. And man, I still to this day use stuff that he taught me that blows people's minds. Like a lot of times I don't grab the sleeve grip, I grab the wrist or like behind the elbow rather than fabric because it feels more comfortable and better control. And I find that people don't know how to deal with it the same way. Like bringing in these alternate viewpoints is so powerful.
I mean, I know exactly what you mean by that the grip behind the elbow. Instead of grabbing cloth, like you're actually grabbing, the elbow and like the tricep area. So I've been caught in that, and it messes with me a lot because if you grab the fabric, I can just kind of wiggle my arm and break that grip. You grab the arm, there's a different grip there that I can't get. And with that grip, though, it's now limiting my mobility. Because if you got the fabric, again, I can just kind of roll my arm under, and now I can grab you. Versus if you grab the actual body part, I can't do that now. Like if I try to, I'm limited in how far I can take the arm. And you still have full control, even if I get to one point. So those things are important. Those are things that people just, it's not necessarily taught. So
yeah, and that's kind of like, I mean, that's a first level breakdown, and then like the next level beyond that is like looking at human nature and the mentioning the way our minds work. If I grab a lapel, in my mind, I'm grabbing something static. I'm grabbing something and my brain forgets about it. If I don't remember to pull, my arm just hangs there. Yeah. And if you look at a baby holding a bag of snacks, they can hold that bag of snacks forever. They never let it go. It's just like, it's from almost day one, we grab something, we grab it, and it's just grabbed, and it's going to stay grabbed until we actively do something about it. But when you grab a body part, it becomes this active grip in our minds. Like we try to control. If you grab behind the arm, you don't just relax. You're always like pulling on the arm, but you grab the sleeve and now it's just something to be held. And you have to actively learn how to pull it. And so there's like even a different level of activity in your brain between grabbing sleeves for spider guard versus grabbing wrists, for doing like an arm drag where you grab behind the arm versus grabbing the fabric, grabbing behind the head for like a collar tie instead of grabbing lapel. Like each one of those like is a very different energy. And I really try to incorporate, like the body grabs above doing fabric grabs, because for me, it makes me more effective. I don't forget that I'm holding on to something and I don't get caught with my arm out.
I was actually thinking about the collar tie, like as you're saying that, because that's a go-to for me. It's just grab the back of the neck, grab the back of the head, and now control them. My one teammate, he likes to use, he's one of our Muay Thai fighters. and he loves to use a Muay Thai clinch. He loves to use sweeps from Muay Thai. Someone actually told him last week, he used a sweep and somebody got pissed. They're like, you can't do that here. He was like, why not? It's like,
Yes, you can.
he's actually gone. He just recently got promoted to blue belt, but he was going to tournaments just by himself, no team, no nothing, as a white belt, doing the opens and going up against brown belts and using Muay Thai, just using the Muay Thai clinch specifically and just tripping people. You could,
Yep.
and that brought up kind of a discussion between he and I, where it was like, how many of these guys that are going out there, training on a high level, what else are they training besides jiu-jitsu, if anything? And most of them are probably just, doing just jiu-jitsu, but, him out there using Muay Thai techniques shows that, hey, you can bring some other elements over too. But that body control specifically, like you said, you grab onto an arm, there's purpose to that. It's not just here. Like if I again, one of my go-tos from guard is, I'll immediately get a cat's paw grip and start motioning towards spider or lasso. Now for me, I know where, there's steps to it. So I know where I'm going, but I have some teammates, they'll do it, but that's just kind of a placeholder. They're not really doing anything with it. It's just somewhere to put their hands. Because we always say, your hands have to be doing something. If your hands are like free, like, what are you doing? You're just hanging out. You need to be doing something active. So, that's a point that, I wish was taught more. And now even just having this discussion, I can't wait to get back. I'm not training tomorrow because work. Weird. Like we have this weird meeting after work for 2 hours. I was like, that's really weird. And I know they're going to find a way to kind of, hey, so we're not going to do overtime. Why don't you guys just take a 2 hour break tomorrow? Huh?
Yeah, sure.
Like, I don't want to take a 2 hour break. I want my overtime. So I can't train, but I go back in for no-gi after that, which is perfect for this because now that's in my head. Just like, all right, let me go ahead and get these types of grips and put in that work because, like I said, I'm falling in love with jiu-jitsu again, and I'm thinking about it all the time. And now this discussion here, after we're done, I'm just got my notebook here. Got it from Tony.
Oh, you got one? I've been meaning to get one. That's.
Yeah, well, when she made the meme, I messaged her immediately. I was like, hey, if you make that book, I'll buy it.
Yeah, like, shout out to Jit Stitch for the absolute best jiu-jitsu journal that you can buy. Hold it up again, so I get the word. Yeah, well, that didn't work at Jiu-Jitsu Journal. That's unbelievable. I hope she made like $10 million off that because that is the best.
It's. I love whenever I see that she's like released something new because it's like it's always something clever.
Yeah,
and serves a purpose, whether it be a shirt. I'm a constant mug buyer, so there's always something on a mug that I'm like, I like it, I want it, I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to drink wine out of it. But when I saw the book, I was like, dude, make that book, and I will buy it. And she made it, and I've seen quite a few people buying them. Myself included. I bring it to the gym and people are like, dude, where'd you get that? I was like, I'll send you the link. Like, get your own.
Just absolutely incredible. Yeah.
But I'll jot down just notes from our discussion now in that book. The thing I have at my advantage here is I have to go back and edit this. So it's going to help me with a lot of my notes.
See, that's the power of video in journaling.
Yeah. And that's it. What's weird is for this, I'm all on board, like going back, listening, fixing things, editing. But then when I go back and watch my videos of training, so on Sundays when I train with my friend, I record our rolls.
Yep.
And then I take notes and I send them back to both of them, just so that way, they, trying to tell them things to kind of be aware of, posture, grips, addressing grips, stuff like that. One of my teammates, he said early on when I was training, think of it like rock climbing. Your hands should always be somewhere. Your feet should always, you should always be doing something. If you've got a free hand, you just fell. So it's like, oh yeah. So I'm always aware of that, like, okay, I should be, holding the lapel, holding the back of the head, holding, a tricep, something. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna jot some of this info down because now it's in my head and I'm just like, dude, I can't wait to get back on the mat now. Like,
I just realized I'm at 1% battery. So, is there a way that I can jump on my computer to keep doing this, or do we need to wrap it up?
we can go ahead and start wrapping up. We're at about I can't see the time, about an hour 45. So, we can go ahead and start clearing out here and closing
Hey,
out.
let's do this again soon, like
Absolutely.
100%. Like I could sit here and talk to you like all night long, and I
Dude,
wish I'd had a better charge.
yeah, like absolutely. I need to keep a note in my mind because I always talk to him like, dude, I want to get him back on, and not just on, like, just in general for conversation. But then all this shit starts going on, and it's like, okay, let me reschedule. So let's go ahead and get ready to close out of here. So any shout outs, plugs you got for upcoming?
Yeah, I just want to take a minute to thank you for everything you've done in your various accounts. I think you're a very important part of the community, and I appreciate the amount of work that you've done on all the different accounts and variations. I want to take a minute to also thank all of the other Jiu-Jitsu meme accounts. When we all got together for the elite sports thing, I just really felt like there was a good community there, and community is so important. So Jits Bitch, Matador, BJ for the Culture, who else? You, me, McDojo Life,
Yeah, that's a big one.
Horseplay. Yeah, so I love the community aspect. I love that we all came together to stand up for something we believe in. And I do want to thank also 93 Brand for being a good part of that community. They've sponsored me recently. They've been a great partner. They're helping me with figuring out routes to fund the app. I can't speak highly enough about them as a counterpoint to Elite for a company that cares about the culture and cares about the growth of the sport.
Absolutely.
And thank you just also to all the backers so far on Kickstarter. That's the other big piece of the puzzle, is bringing this app to life, is keeping me focused on it and keeping money in the bank to keep funding the people. So huge thank you to all of them, and once again thank you for just being an awesome part of the community.
Thank you. Just it always, like, it's weird to me. Just think like, wow, like, I'm helping. Okay, cool. I never realized it. I'm just like, I'm just a guy who reposts stuff and it works. So thank you. And Zach, as always, thank you for doing this. Thank you for all the content that you put out there. It's always been helpful to me. And as I repost it and as I, share from you, I see that people, are gravitating towards it and really pulling resources from you. So we can't thank you enough.
Happy to help always.
Thank you to everybody out there who's been listening to the podcast. Again, couldn't do this without, listeners, but I'm gonna be honest, even if I had one listener, I would still just get on here and talk.
That's what it's about, man. Just doing it because you love it. Like, that's every day on the mats.
So, and that's the crazy thing, is that I do this because I enjoy this and people listen and they're gaining something from it too. So it's like there's a common interest, and that's exciting for me. Shout out to my guest today, Zach, for student of BJJ. Go out, check out his account on Instagram, check out the website. The secondary page now for the app is called Champions Keep Score.
Yep.
Champions _ keep _ score.
Yeah.
On Instagram. So go check that out. I'm going to put the links in the show notes for everyone. Also, another shout out to Jits Bitch. Go check her out if you already aren't doing so. She has such a huge following. It's like, I feel like when I say go check her out, it's like they're probably like, dummy, we're already doing it.
Yeah.
We're already there. And Make sure you're checking out and following BJJ Mama as well. She
Yeah,
has a lot of amazing content and just such a wonderful spirit about herself and just great energy. So,
totally agree.
um, yeah, it's like like anytime I talk to her, I feel like like I need her for pep talks.
Yeah.
Like when I'm having a down moment, she perks me right up. So check those accounts out. Otherwise, thank you everyone. You can find me at bjj.wiki or Off the Mats Podcast, both on Instagram. Otherwise, thank you. You all keep listening. I will continue to make these episodes. Thank you all.
Yep.
Deep with it. Now let me sing a song.